Hey, it's been a while. If you guys don't know who I am, my name is Simon. I'm one half of the Panic Brothers. I've been on several reels, TikToks, and little clips here and there. There are two Vegeta. Oh my god! Today, I am working on a video again. A lot of animes have been coming out with high heat lately. You got rumors of Boruto going to be very good in its manga. You got One Piece coming out with its Gear 5 animations. You even have animes like Bleach, who are showing that even after several years of being somewhat irrelevant, they still got it. The animation in those latest episodes have been absolutely absurd. And you also have your newer animes like Vinland Saga and Jujutsu Kaisen. Jujutsu Kaisen has just wrapped up its introduction to its second season. What comes next is the Shibuya Incident arc, an arc that everyone and their mom has talked about how great and depressing and amazing and life-changing it is, which I think is somewhat true. I do think a lot of us in the JJK manga fan base have been hyping up a little bit too much, but it's a great arc, and it's the reason why I caught up all the way to the recent chapters in the manga. I think fans are in for an amazing progression of the story, intelligent character interactions, well-crafted fights, and a really massive cliffhanger, assuming the season ends where I think it'll end. However, before we enter the next sequence of JJK, I really want to touch base on these first 5 episodes we just watched in Season 2. I think Mappa and JJK have gone above and beyond in the season, highlighting the relationship between this demigod character they already know really well, which is Satoru Gojo, and the villain that we are kind of introduced to in Season 0, or the movie of JJK, which is Satoru Geto. Not only does the anime do a good job of highlighting these characters, but it's kind of a thing that the anime and manga keep doing again and again. It's the main reason why I love the series so much. You have dynamics that kind of just make sense. It's a captivating anime and manga series that delves into the intricacies of human connections amidst a world like curses and supernatural forces. At the heart of its impressive narrative, you get these really intriguing relationships like Toji and Maki, characters that really don't have any curse energy at all, yet they still somehow overcome the odds. Yuta and Yuji, two oddball characters kind of thrown into this weird circumstance that put them in the Jujutsu world. And like I said before, Geto and Gojo. So many video essays, TikToks, Instagram reels, podcasts, episodes, what have you, have already discussed the powerful narrative behind Geto and Gojo, so I don't really want to discuss that specifically. I want to discuss an element that I feel like a lot of people are missing that's really imperative and unique to the anime in Season 2 of Jujutsu Kaisen that highlights this relationship. And that's the intro song. A couple days ago, I stumbled across the music video for Where Our Blue Is on YouTube. And I watched the whole thing and was really captivated because I had closed captions on and I read the English lyrics for the first time, or at least the YouTube English translated lyrics, and they were a lot more beautiful and just really well written than I thought. Way too well written. Kind of like the POV of Gojo written. Mentions of the color blue, curses, yearning for an old connection to an old friend or lover, perforate all 3 minutes and 16 seconds of this song. This video itself will be an analysis of why Where Our Blue is the perfect opening song for Season 2's introduction and perfectly encapsulates the evolution of Gojo and Geto's relationship. Oh, quick disclaimer, I'm using the YouTube closed captioned English translation lyrics. There are a bunch of translations I found online. These are my favorite by far. I think they just flow well and they just have better meaning to them, I guess. I don't know. Sue me. If you know better translations, please link them to me in the comments. I just want to give that fair warning because this whole video is going to be using those lyrics, with maybe a hint or two here of other alternative lyrics I find online. And also, if you like this content, please like, subscribe, comment your thoughts on this opening on the Season 2 of JJK, or anything JJK in general. Hopefully I can put out more of this content very soon, so please sit back and enjoy the video. Where Our Blue Is a gut-wrenching track. The lyrics carry themes of loss, regret, love, seemingly desperate hope, and the color blue. For those who might not know or recall, the beginning of Season 2 covers a flashback sequence of events from Gojo's past. A past where he is a second-year student alongside Geto and Shoko. We're introduced to Gojo and Geto's friendly yet rivalrous demeanor towards each other, all through what feels like one summer in Japan. The energy feels lighthearted and balanced. JJK masterfully demonstrates how isolated these characters are from others due to their strength. This is done through small and large interactions like the discussion in the gym, their attitude towards weaker sorcerers like Mei and Urahime, and their role in escorting the new plasma vessel for sacrifice. To the viewer, they constantly feel like a perfect and unstoppable force of power. They never stress about their sorcerer lifestyle and their role in doing their task. However, soon after, we're shown how ideologically different these characters are. Gojo lives a blessed life where he feels as though he is superior to all, and protecting the weak is a waste of time and energy, while Geto believes being strong for the weak is the morally right action for humans and sorcerers alike. At least he tells himself this. Geto is so loyal to his ethics that in one of the most important scenes of Season 2, we have Gojo and Geto in a room surrounded by humans clapping for Riko's death. Gojo himself, even while still enraged, after seeing what has happened to Riko and seeing these mortals all clap for her death, asks Geto what they should do, because he still sees Geto as the morally right person in any situation they're in. Early on in the season, despite their clash in philosophy, we never fear for these characters, as any challenge they face seems to never be enough to handle their immense strength. It's not until Toji comes into the picture where Gojo and Geto are truly tested mentally and physically, and where most importantly, their ideologies are truly hardened. The clash of Toji Fujigoro leaves Gojo in a vacuum of power and selfless improvement, doubling down on being the strongest. He takes on missions alone and perfects his limitless technique, deeming himself the honored one. Meanwhile, Geto's defeat, Geto's interaction with the Star religious group, and loss of comrades and friends left and right leaves him alone in his thoughts and softens his judgment. He questions why he does what he does every day, and who does he do it for? Why serve the weak when the weak don't provide him or any of his comrades anything? The isolation that festers in Geto makes his thoughts grow darker and darker, and without Gojo present, there is no like-minded individual or any other character who can understand him well enough to offer him the mental support he needs. This ultimately results in a split between best friends, the loss. Tetsuya writes, "The asphalt ground was echoing the chorus of cicadas. It prevented me from hearing the silence of you. Those days faded away." Cicadas are somewhat noisy insects that linger during the summer. In Japan, they're known as the sound of summer. Watch any anime and there's a good chance you'll hear cicadas when the anime aims to portray a summer-like environment. The use of cicadas in the lyrics here could be done to double down on setting the scene of summer, that season of blue mentioned earlier. Reading these lines from the perspective of Gojo, the sound, or more so the events of that season, that summer, made him deaf or ignorant to those around him. Preventing me from hearing the silence of you beautifully reads like Gojo could not or unwillingly ignored his friend's depressive episode and mental state. Geto's silence was just that to Gojo. Silence.
悟は最強になった。
すぐれ、ちょっと痩せた。大丈夫か?
Those days faded away. Gojo loses his friend, loses the bond they had shared up until then. It's obvious Gojo regrets not being strong enough to save Geto, but these lyrics could indicate how much Gojo loathes missing him. Assuming you're reading this from present day, Gojo could be tired of how much energy thinking about his past and his only best friend takes on his mind. Maybe, in a twisted way, he regrets even ever missing him, ever being that close to Geto without prioritizing their friendship. It's like the denial stage of grief. One can try all they want to deny the circumstances of the situation, but inevitably it ends in acceptance when one realizes nothing is no longer in their control. Gojo regrets the strength he obtained, and how isolated it made him. He became something bigger than just a Jujutsu sorcerer, as we can see with the words, "I am the sole honored one." And he paid the price of losing a loved one because of it. Focusing on the curse element of this lyric alone, love is a curse. Any emotional feeling can become a curse in JJK, It's why Yuji spent hours watching movies to control his cursed energy. Gojo's selfless improvement was a curse, beneficial cursed energy used to defeat any enemy later in the series, yet also a miserable curse inflicted on his best friend. Regret, like love, can foster curses, but it is not as strong as love. Nothing is, according to Satoru Gojo. In Season 0 of Jujutsu Kaisen, or whatever the movie is officially called, Gojo explains to Yuta that love is the most twisted curse of all. Funny enough, we see these lines in the song. The curse word mentioned could be a lot of things from the perspective of Gojo. It could be his resistance to Geto's path, it could be the feelings he has for his best friend that he never was able to admit, or it could be just that, a curse he couldn't bring upon Geto to kill him where he stood. When Gojo kills Geto in the movie, Gojo seems to finally tell his best friend what's been on his mind all these years. The unvoiced voice. Something the audience doesn't hear, only sees as Gojo words it with his lips. The unvoiced. The words shock Geto as his eyes widen from shock. His response? Geto simply says, "At least curse me before I die." A perfect parallel to the lyrics. I've got a curse word for you stuck in the back of my throat. What's more poetic than Gojo letting his voice out, letting the unvoiced speak, just to be retaliated with a plea for a curse instead? For Gojo, his love could be the curse stuck in his throat, but from the POV of Geto, he knows Gojo could do a lot more than just speak his feelings. He could actually administer a real curse. The unvoiced voice could be rendered as a curse, but instead it's rooted in something more positive, love. There's no doubt that these two share a connection of love, but it seems like when it's all far too late, that love is finally let free and voiced to Geto, acknowledged by Gojo. In Season 2, we are shown a memorable scene between Gojo and Geto, the peak of their conflict in the season. Gojo finds Geto through the help of Shoko, and desperately tries to reason with his departure from Jujutsu High. Geto confidently responds to all of Gojo's words, and demonstrates a cool and calm approach to his decision. He is content with who he has now become, and questions Gojo's strength, possibly knowing Gojo is far too kind to kill his one and only best friend. Gojo threatens to do just that, but doesn't go through with the action, holding out hope there is no need for Geto to be considered a threat, or maybe that he just can't bring himself to kill his best friend. Desperately holding on to the best friend he knows all too well. In Season 0, Gojo even tells Geto he would have never thought he would stoop so low to kill young Jutsu sorcerers, meaning he really isn't the same man he once knew, making it all easier for him to kill him off. In Season 2, Gojo still holds on to the time he spent with Geto, at least the one he used to know. He deep down knows there's no changing him. No prayer or word could ever reach you, no matter how close they could get to you. The chorus of Where Our Blue Is ends with the most powerful line of the entire song. We'll see each other again, won't we? Something that feels taken straight out of Gojo's thoughts, his desperation. I still think of the image of us who were still nobody. We could have shared everything, little by little since that day. Gojo ends Season 2 waking up from a long dream to Yuji, Megumi, and Nobara berating him for sleeping. A lot of fans have pointed out that when he wakes up, his eyes are puffy from crying, obviously from recalling his past. However, what if Gojo didn't just dream of his past, but also a future where he saved Geto? A future where little by little, they grow to understand each other, find a way to eradicate cursed energy, and continue at Jutsu High as best friends. Wishful thinking, desperation. Blue is the strongest element of this entire song. It's the main subject, it's what carries the theme of the song. The symbolism of the color blue in the song lyrics serve as a foundation for understanding the nuances between Geto and Gojo. Blue often embodies both calmness and melancholy, reflecting their early shared history. In the beginning, the blue represents their joint purpose, to protect humanity from curses. The opening two lines not only highlight the setting, but convey their unity, likening their partnership to the serenity of the color blue. This portrayal parallels their initial camaraderie, when they fought side by side with a shared sense of duty. Funny enough, there exists an alternate translated line that I read online when doing research for this video that read, "The blue we looked up at together fades into an obscure light." It hints at the growing divide between them, and I think masterfully uses the blue to show the highlights and lowlights of Gojo and Geto. Geto's disillusionment with humanity and his eventual divergence from his initial ideals drive a wedge between the two characters. This disillusionment is like a fading blue, as the purity of their shared vision is tainted by the complexities of reality. Amongst all else, blue contains a meaning of destiny. When I see the color chosen blue, I think it suggests that their connection is not only deep, but also inescapable, like a giant body of water. Their paths are intertwined, and every decision they make reverberates throughout the entire series. We see the color blue appear several times: Gojo's eyes, his techniques, even his cursed energy. It could be a subtle reminder that what has happened between these two never leaves the core of the series and those connected by it. Like the song claims, our blue still lives on, both in desperation, but also through destiny. We still live on.